Out of the 34 civilizations in Civ 4, there are 2 that actually never existed but have been properly replaced in later games. One is the Viking Empire, and we'll talk about the second one, which is an even more flagrant historical blunder at the end of the video. See, Vikings is the modern name given to a group of seafaring peoples known as Norsemen that used to live in the Scandinavian region. They spoke the same language, which became the basis of the Germanic languages we now find in Scandinavia. They shared the same religion with the surprising name of Old Norse religion or Norse paganism. And before the Latin alphabet that arrived in the northern lands, they had a unique writing system called runic system, in which they used these symbols called runes to write. But their main cultural trait was that of their seafaring nature. As a culture that heavily depended on the sea, they were easily distinguishable by their iconic longships, with which they controlled the northern seas, since their naval power was their main weapon. So much so that in the 8th century, the Norse gave rise to what's become known as the Viking Age. Between the 8th and the 11th century, the Vikings used their ships to raid and attack nearby coastal cities in the northern seas, as well as to settle new land, expanding their cultural influence, and also leaving their linguistic print in modern Germanic languages such as German and English. These Viking raids are so important in history that some historians believe that the very word Viking comes from this Old Norse word that refers to pirates or raiders, but there are other theories too. Moving forward in time, in the 18th and 19th centuries, this picture of the Northern Sea warriors became more and more spread, even with the addition of items such as the horn helmets that we do not have evidence of. So, the Vikings are none other than these particular Norsemen that got onto their ships and using their naval power marked the linguistic, cultural and geographical future of a big chunk of Europe. But there was no such thing as a Viking political entity. No Viking empire existed. Instead, the 3 main kingdoms of the Scandinavian peninsula were the Kingdom of Denmark, the Kingdom of Norway, and the Kingdom of Sweden, though all of them did have Viking warriors within their borders. In fact, Ragnar himself was indeed a Viking, but he was the King of Denmark and Sweden. In later games, the Viking Empire disappeared and was properly replaced by these different Scandinavian kingdoms. In Civ 5 we've got the Danish and the Swedish Empire, while in Civ 6 we find the Swedish and the Norwegian Empire. But there's another, even more egregious historical inaccuracy in Civilization 4, and to learn about it we'll have to go to North America. Let me introduce you to the mighty Native American Empire, led by the impressive Sitting Bull. Well, again, this thing never existed. The Native Americans were the peoples native to the Americas, meaning those peoples that lived on the American continent before the Europeans arrived and Christianized them, i.e. killed them all. See, based on different kinds of analysis and studies, it's possible to divide North America in the following cultural regions, which are also heavily related to the climate. For instance, those tribes that lived here had a specific lifestyle that also turned out in a specific culture, while for instance those tribes in this region had a completely different cultural lifestyle. And this is only talking about North America, let alone how crazy it is to think about the union of North and South American tribes. Now, what about Sitting Bull, the leader of this fictional empire? Sitting Bull was the most important historical figure of the Sioux, one of the tribes that lived in the plains. He's widely known for having resisted the American settlers' attack at the Battle of Little Big Horn during the Great Sioux War of 1876, a series of American campaigns to claim more land from natives. He even had the support of other nearby tribes such as the Cheyenne and the Arapaho. But given the extension and variety of cultures and climates, as well as how difficult it was to establish firm contact between tribes, such thing as the Native American Empire never existed, though there had been some kind of confederation of tribes. In fact, one of these confederations appeared in Civilization 5 as a way of correcting the historical blunder the Native American Empire was. I'm talking about the Iroquois. Hiawatha, their leader in the game, was the founder of the Iroquois Confederation that grouped 6 Native American tribes on the eastern shore of the United States. Also, in Civilization 5, we find another Native American leader, Pocatello, from the Shoshone, a Native American culture that lived in what's now the western US, in the Great Basin area. Then, in Civ 6, the Native American Empire hasn't come back, but instead, we've got another tribe from them, the Cree, and going down ones into South America, the Mapuche, let alone the all-time iconic pre-Columbian civilizations like the Maya, Incas, and Aztecs, which have been present in most Civilization games. Thanks for watching!